Hello everyone, Kathleen Basie here. I'm going to try something different today. Normally I spend a great deal of time writing a blog post to put up every Tuesday, and I decided I'm just going to try talking to you today for a few minutes and then probably share some links with you. One of my great passions, as you know, is environmental stewardship, and this happens to me because I had 3 years of infertility that when we finally overcame it after doing like a year and a half of various medical interventions, the thing that actually caused us to get pregnant was a water filter. Um, that there were implications in agricultural chemicals in the water supply where I live that made it difficult for men to have children. And we had addressed all of the issues with me and still weren't getting pregnant. And when we installed a water filter and took those chemicals out of our water, then we had our family of 4 kids. So this was very convicting to me. And when people go around saying things like, oh, humans, we're being prideful if we think that humans can possibly impact the environment, that's BS. We can and we do impact the environment. One of the things that I think there's an opinion that is shared among left-leaning people that says it's not about people's personal habits, that people's personal habits cannot solve this problem. We need systemic policy solutions to these problems of environmental stewardship. And I think that that's partly true, but I don't think it's fully true. I don't buy it, because people who do things personally, who make personal commitments and who make changes to their own personal habits, become convicted. That's what has happened to me. You begin with one small thing and you suddenly realize that you can make a difference, and you start trying to make that difference in more and more and more ways, and that is what it takes for us to get to policies that will actually address these questions. So my challenge for everyone today is to choose one thing to do to impact the environment in a positive way. But perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself. Perhaps we need to go back to, why am I talking about this on a Substack called Intentional Catholic at all? If you go back to the Catechism of the Catholic Church, I have to put on my glasses to read some of this. I apologize. I'm just at that age. Things about the environment begin with chapter 7, to the 7th commandment. It's part 3, Life in Christ, section 2 on the 10 Commandments. Chapter 2, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Article 7, the 7th commandment, begins with the idea of the universal destination and private ownership of goods. Number 2402 says, in the beginning, God entrusted the earth and its resources to the common stewardship of mankind to take care of them, to master them by labor, and to enjoy their fruits. The goods of creation are destined for the whole human race. However, the earth is divided up among men to assure the security of their lives, endangered by poverty and threatened by violence. The appropriation of property is legitimate for guaranteeing the freedom and dignity of persons, and for helping each of them to meet his basic needs and the needs of those in his charge, in other words, their families or whatever. It should allow for a natural solidarity to develop between men. The right to private property acquired by work or received from others by inheritance or gift does not do away with the original gift of the earth to the whole of mankind. The universal destination of goods remains primordial, even if the promotion of the common good requires respect for the right to private property and its exercise. In other words, how we use the things that we have matters. That's a foundational concept here. Number 2404 says, in his use of things, man should regard the external goods that he legitimately owns not merely as exclusive to himself, but common to others also, in the sense that they can benefit others as well as himself. This is an important concept. In other words, the idea is that you have the right to use the things of earth, but you don't have the right to use them indiscriminately use them up and to damage other human beings and the well-being of the common good by the way that you use the earth, for instance. If you go on to number 2, respect for persons and their goods, this is a little, you know what, I'm not even going to read this one. I'm just going to put the link to it because I would have to do more excerpting in there. But the point of all of this is that how we have a right and a duty to be stewards of the earth. And that stewardship, the primary concern is supposed to be the good of humankind. So it's not about money. It's not about accumulation. It's not about comfort, convenience, and all of the things about the environment that require sacrifice, people object to because of it requires a sacrifice of convenience or comfort. So I would like to return to that idea of doing one thing. And the one thing that I'm going to suggest to everyone is very, very straightforward. Turn your car off. One of the things that I see all the time when I'm going places is that people are sitting in their cars. For some reason in the United States, we have this idea that if we are in our car, it must be running. So if I pull into a parking lot and I'm going to check my phone for 10 minutes before I go into a jazzercise class, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to scroll my phone and leave the car running. And it doesn't matter if it's hot or cold or perfect outside. I'll even leave the car running while the windows are open. So it's clearly not about air conditioning, for instance. We just have to have the car running if we're in it for some reason. I remember that I used to go try to condense trips. And so I would do a noon fitness class and then I would go to sit and work at the school until school got out. And so I would back into a shady parking place and turn the car off. But there was one guy in a white pickup truck who would come in every single day and park in that lot an hour and a half before school got out, and he would run his car the entire time. It did not matter if it was 65 degrees outside or 30 degrees outside or 90 degrees outside. He was running that car. In the pickup line at my kids' school, it's actually getting better. About a third of the people are turning their cars off now, but people start pulling in 45 minutes before school gets out, and they wait in that pickup line, and more than half of them are running their cars the entire time. Another example, my husband noticed this weekend, we had a neighborhood garage sale, and as he was walking, because he was going to go umpire at a baseball field that was within walking distance, and so he decided he would walk instead of driving. And as he was walking through the neighborhood, he was like, I don't understand these people. They're going to garage sales, which if you go to garage sales, you go because you want to save money on things. But they go to these garage sales and they get out of their car and they leave their car running while they're walking around the garage sale. I don't understand it. I don't understand it either. So I want to finish up my video today by sharing some figures that I found this morning when I looked it up. An average passenger vehicle consumes approximately 0.2 to 0.5 gallons of gasoline per hour while idling. That's your average passenger vehicle. An idling SUV typically wastes about that much as well. But idling for 10 minutes wastes enough fuel to travel 5 miles, and generally speaking, it's less efficient than if you turned it off and started it up again. If you're running the air conditioner, then your consumption increases by another 0.1 to 0.3 gallons per hour. So running the air conditioner, it would be more like, let's see, what's the math on that? 0.35 to 0.8 gallons per hour in that neighborhood. I'm bad at math, sorry. Especially when I'm doing it on the fly. So basically, annual waste, if you idle for 20 minutes a day, which people who sit in parking lots, picking up their kids for half an hour, 20 minutes of idling at least. That is a waste of over 18 gallons of gasoline every year. Now, this morning as I was putting all this together, I looked up what AAA said the average price of gas is. Right now, the average price of gas in the United States, thanks to this war in Iran, is $4.457 per gallon. So almost $4.46 a gallon. So that, you're wasting some gas here. I would just like to suggest that this idea, which lights are long on your commute, and turning off your car, if your car is off for more than 10 seconds, that's a standard measure. If you look online, that's worth turning the car off for, that you'll waste less gas restarting it than you will leaving it running for that period of time. And I mean, some of us sit for 45, 50 seconds a minute at stoplights. Definitely, if your kids are in a piano lesson or at a soccer practice, you do not need to sit there and run your car the whole time. It's easy and thoughtless to stay in the comfort. But we are capable of taking a blanket out and spreading it out under a tree in the shade while our kids are at practice. We have other options. We just don't think about them. So I would invite you to choose that or choose something else. Maybe it's turning off your lights, making sure you turn off the lights. Maybe it's not leaving your computer running all day. Maybe it's not running the TV just to have noise on in the background. Is there a better way to do that? But to choose one small thing and offer that sacrifice up to God as I can see that bad things are happening to the earth, and I want to do my one small thing to try to make a difference. Because I think that if all people of faith and goodwill chose one small thing, it would soon snowball into many small things, which would snowball into big things. So that's what I have for you today.